Now then, how's everyone doing? Good to see you all. Has everyone had a good day so far? So far. It's the end of the day. What am I on about? I have had a busy one today, I think. Made a fair bit of progress on the festival as well, which is good. And should be ready to announce some stuff real soon. It just seems really scary to think that it's fast approaching, even though it's probably not as fast as I think it is. It's just totally worrying about nothing there. Sorry, I'm just in the middle of posting about this. Oh, God. So, who we got in? How you doing, Michael? Good to see you. Amy, well done, Michael, for winning. Hands down. Number 1 today. Who else we got? Maggie, how you doing? Hi, Amy. James, nice to see you, mate. Fancy seeing you here. So, it's a funny one, really, because I have yet to prepare a song to play. It's not like me, is it? What's everyone been up to anyways? Steve-o, how you doing, mate? How you doing, Michael? Good to see you, mate. So tonight we've got Jack Manning joining us. He sounded absolutely incredible during soundcheck, and I was listening to his Spotify as well today. It's mega. So we're in for a right treat, guys. And we just made conversation about how his old band and City of Lights kind of crossed paths. I think there is some history in there as well, but it was too long a conversation to have just before we go live, so we figured we'd save it for this. So scared of what I become. Sometimes I don't know who I am. Yeah, I know about to lead up, but I'll call them in the morning when I wake up. What's the rush? And I'll lie and tell you I'm fine. Really, I'd be dying. And I couldn't wait to crawl back to bed, just to hide away. I'll close my eyes and forget. What's the rush? So get a hold of yourself, 'cause it ain't worth it anymore. Couldn't wait to crawl back to bed, just to hide away. I close my eyes and forget. What's the rush? To get a hold of yourself, 'cause it ain't worth it anymore. No. just get a hold of yourself. It ain't worth it anymore. No, I know, oh, I know. 'Cause I can't do this on my own. Oh, get a hold of yourself. It ain't worth it anymore. No, I know, I know. Is I can't do this on my own. Hold yourself, it ain't worth it anymore. No, I know, I know. 'Cause I can't do this on my own. Cheers, Wembley. Oh, that joke never gets old, eh? All right. Thank you very much for the nice comments, guys. I appreciate it. Hey. How's everyone finding lockdown? I think it's... I've had enough now. I'm not going to lie. That's enough now. Jackson, mate, how you doing? Adele, nice to see you. Catherine, how you doing? I agree. I agree with you, Adele. I am fed up with it. I don't mean to bring it on a downbeat or anything, but it's just, I think, I normally, I'm all right with stuff, but nah, it's just at the moment, I've had enough. Right, anyways. If Jack's ready, I think I'm going to jump right into the show. He's giving me the thumbs up. Right, here we go. Massive round of applause for Jack Manning, everyone. Oh, I've kicked you off. Hey, we got there in the end, and you're muted.
That was quite an introduction.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Yourself? Well, you just told us how you're doing. You're fed up, but other than that, how you doing?
Well, no, I'm not. I am a bit fed up. I'm not going to lie. Some days it's better than others, but today I just feel like I'm a bit worn out with the whole pandemic thing. I've had enough now. Should we stop the pandemic now? Yeah.
Just cancel it.
Yeah, just
Call it
cancel
a day
that for a bit. How are you finding it all? Anyways, are you coping well? Are you keeping busy?
Overall, not too bad, really. I mean, everybody's different, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah.
I think probably like yourself, just missing the opportunity to be out gigging and stuff is
man,
a little bit frustrating. And sort of, I don't know, I'll get reminders on my phone of meant to be at this such and such a bar and such a pub. I get a little reminder saying, you get there, the Google Maps ones that say, take the A62 to avoid traffic or whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that. But it's not been too bad. I mean, I've got my dog to keep me company. It's been nice weather, so sat in garden having a few beers, soaking up the sun. So there are positives to be had from it, definitely. So I've not been too bad.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that's it. I think you got to make the best of the situation. I think you have the highs and lows and everything in between, sort of thing. But for me personally, today is one of those days where I'm
just one of those days.
Yeah, but it's not to worry about, not untoward sort of thing. But it's cool that you're managing to just sort of get on with it as well. That's good.
I think it just depends on your personality type a bit as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
really?
Definitely, yeah. Despite not having gigs and stuff, are you still playing as much as you would, or more, or less?
I've done a couple of things, sort of like we'll be doing today, like live stream gigs, and a couple of. I did a podcast episode with some a band that I played with when I was out in the States. They've started a podcast of a sort of interviewing artists and getting them to play. So that was really good fun. Yeah. But, mostly just trying to write, I suppose. So I say trying to get about 3/4 through a song and then just put the guitar down.
Yeah. That's about all you need to finish a song, though. You only need to get
I
that far
know.
into it and then be able to be like, that'll do.
It's so bad. I've done the hard bit, but I just don't. For some reason, like you say, it's pretty much done at that point. All it would take is some, like,
that
just
last
some more
little
lyrics
push.
or whatever. But the
Yeah,
amount of songs I've got, which are 3/4 of the way done.
you could probably make up about however many full songs just out of those 3/4. Exactly. Stitch a few of them together and make a full song.
There we go. Yeah, that's the solution.
So I mean, I'm finding I've played more than ever.
Oh, right.
With the whole because like with the whole thing, because obviously you have more time, don't you? And you
Yeah.
like and I'm doing this every night, so I'm finding the time to pick the guitar up a little more. So before this, were you your schedule was, like, as you say, was pretty busy, and you were gigging quite regularly, or?
Well, yeah. So at the moment, I'm just doing. So I've always sort of done gigs as a weekend thing on my side, and generally had some sort of other job. But this is the first time I've sort of taken a punt on doing music full time.
Oh, nice.
But obviously, sod's law. It's happened at a time when this pandemic's broken out.
Yeah,
So
well,
the universe
I
must
mean,
not want me to do it.
No, so if anything, the universe is saying, here's a bit of time just to make sure you've got all the stuff that you need, so then when
Yeah.
the pandemic's over, you can.
That's a very
go run.
positive spin on that. I like it.
Just giving you that little extra time just to get that. Just finish those 3/4 worth of songs.
I need a few more pandemics worth of time for that. They just sit on the shelf, honestly.
Yeah. But I really love what I've heard on Spotify, man. What you've released sounds really good, man. It's got a really good feel
thank
to
you.
it.
I really appreciate it. Coming from yourself as well, that means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. As if I'm anybody.
Well, no,
Cheers.
anyone who's
really kind of-
involved in music,
No, dude,
that last song sounded brilliant. You obviously know what you're talking about, so.
Oh, thanks, mate.
So no, I take that to heart. It's funny with that the EP that you're on about, because I actually recorded it in like 2015, so nearly 5 years ago, and I
That's
just
crazy.
sort of and I kind of and ahed about releasing it for ages and ages.
So how long have you been? Is this a relatively new release then?
Yeah, so I put it out back in pretty much when the lockdown started. So beginning of March, I decided to finally put it out.
Wow, so you've been sat on them that long?
Yeah, literally 5 years. It's weird. I just sort of went back and forth about. I recorded it, and then I recorded it while I was at uni in Huddersfield. So we used the studios at the uni, and they've got some really good facilities. So I recorded about 10 tracks with a really good friend of mine who did the sort of mixing and mastering. Then went back a bit for some like over. You know how it is when you think, oh, we'll tweak
of course,
bits.
yeah.
And then I just part of it was a little bit. I was just never quite 100% happy with the recordings, but I think you're always your own worst critic, aren't you? So,
Absolutely. But
it's a little bit dark and depressing. Some of it's like a breakup album, so sometimes,
but I think music screams volumes when you can hear emotion in your songs and stuff, and if you can't take that away from your music, then I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for every musician out there, but I'm pretty certain a lot of musicians play music to express themselves in whatever way it may be, sort of thing. So to say like that it's depressing and sad and stuff, I think it's redundant, really, like, because it was a time in your life, and you've it's people like, I genuinely like enjoyed listening to it, so I think it's nonetheless sometimes having that hyper hit 4-chord song is not what you need right at the time, sort of thing. So,
and you're absolutely right. Like, I think, yes, there's a time. I think there's definitely a time and a place for all sorts of music. Sometimes you want that sunny 4-chord pop song.
Yeah,
and but I think you're right. A lot of people I've chatted to just about music in general, who sort of play or are musicians themselves, or even just like music, they always say that that's the kind of what you just hit on there. That's the key ingredient. It has to have some sort of emotional authenticity to yourself, at least. That kind of, whether it's whatever sort of genre or style of music it is, where how technical it is or complicated, as long as it's got that, then it'll work, it'll fly, I guess. If you don't have that, then it doesn't always translate. So once I got over,
go ahead.
Sorry, go on. No, just
No,
like
you
you
go
said,
ahead.
I'm awful for that in interviews and podcasts and stuff. So I apologise
Well,
in advance.
I'll have to do the same, mate. I'm just as bad, so as you were.
Oh, we won't get anywhere today.
It's just going to be a full hour of interrupting each other. So,
Just after
sorry.
you. Oh, it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, you didn't even have any time for any songs or anything.
Yeah, exactly. But no, once I got over that, and also like a lot of my favourite musicians, it is kind of like that sort of heart in your sleeve, dark and depressing sort of stuff. And also it seems to be quite popular, some of that. Like, look at singers like Bon Iver and all them have made a living off of
Oh man, I love
dark
Bon
and
Iver.
depressing breakup
Yeah,
songs
man.
and that.
Absolutely. Well, I think on that note, should we play one of your dark and depressing songs, and then
Why not?
show the people what you've got, and then we'll pick up the conversation again. If anyone's got any questions and you'd like to leave a question in for Jack in the comments, please drop a comment, and if you could start it with a Q, just so I can find the question pretty quick. But yeah, until then, I'll let you take it away, mate.
Thank you very much. This one's called Slowed Down, and it's not as dark and depressing as the others, but it's a bit, it's about procrastinating, basically. So if anyone's ever procrastinated anything in their life, this song's for you. Well, I've been slowed down so far from where I wanted to go. If I weren't slowed down so far, I'd be a goner, you know. Ooh, I'm faded, I'm hazy so easily. Ooh, I'm so far from where I wanna be. To see, well, I've been slowed down, backward erase, yeah, I've been wiped down, saving some face, and my influences influence the way I behave. Well, I've been slowed down, I've been shut down on the bonnet, robbed of all my money. I've been slowed down, I've been dashed out like a pebble, laid beside the devil. She got me slowed down too. I've been a split shine, slim, a line, two-time hook, line, sinker, right into the boat. You reap what you sow when you've been slowed down. You with a snapback, watch how you react, 'cause I'm a lime wire, you don't know me from Jack. I've been breaking bread with a monkey on my back. Well, I've been slowed down. And so what fly moves are you gonna pull next? You with your dry shoes and your carbonite specs. My legs are firing cylinders that spit on my chest, baby. I've been slowed down. I've been shut down on the bonnet and robbed with all my money. I've been slowed down. Sure, I was able to said I wasn't stable. They got me slowed down too. I've been in no holds, no one showing up for my show, so I might as well kick it at home like the Millennium Dome. Well, I've been slowed down. Well, I've been slowed down. I've been shoved down on a bonnet, robbed of all my money. I've been slowed down. was able, they said I was unstable, they got me slowed down too. I've been a spit, shine, slim, a line, two-time hook, line, sinker when you're into the boat. Oh, you reap what you sow when you've been slowed down. Oh, when you've been slowed down. Oh, your day wants you slow down.
Yes, mate, that was awesome.
Oh,
I
cheers,
love
man.
that. I don't know about anyone. I don't know about anyone else, but that made me feel really good, and I was proper groove into it. It was so fun to like. Such a cool
cheers.
little riff. Great voice, man.
Much
wicked.
appreciated.
Loved
Thank
it.
You.
So for those that would like to go check that out, that one is also on
That is
Spotify,
indeed its
correct?
first track. Straight in, man.
Great. So if anyone's interested in checking out Jack's recordings, he is all over Spotify and I'm assuming other platforms too.
All of them, your iTunes,
everything.
Deezer, Google Play. There's more of them than I even
Nuts.
realise are out there.
Yeah, exactly. I know, but I think we'll be here for the whole stream, just naming all of the streaming platforms.
Pretty much.
But that was really good, man. I thoroughly enjoyed that. We've had a few questions in.
Ooh.
So I guess we'll just start from the top.
Mhm.
Which one artist couldn't you live without?
Oh, it's Ultimate Desert Island Disc.
Yeah, basically,
Bloody hell, that's a heart straight in there, isn't it?
yeah. It is, yeah. There's
Not an easy
no
one.
holding back or anything.
I know, yeah, throw it straight in at the deep end. I think we all. This is probably. It's a hard one because I think my all-time favourite artist would have to be Jeff Buckley if I had to choose. There's not that much stuff of his out there because sadly he died quite young. So if you say on
Yeah.
artist you couldn't live without, I'd only be stuck with like an album and a half.
Yeah.
Compared
But
to
could
if
you
I
listen
picked-
to it for the rest of time?
Oh, well, I more or
That's,
less do, to be honest. As it is,
Well,
wouldn't be
there
that
we go.
different from a normal listening routine. But
Well,
yeah,
there we go.
that's a very, very hard question to be thrown in. But yeah, I think he's probably probably for a lot of people as well. But he's definitely my all-time. If I had to choose, his favorite
Cool.
artist. Yeah, purely just for versatility of what he does. He's got one live album out. He's got two kind of. And one of them was a live album, and it's mad. It's mostly covers, and he'll do sort of Hallelujah, which is a cover. Then he'll do a Led Zeppelin song. Then he'll do like an old 1920s show tune. Then he'll do some weird prog jazz stuff, and it's just him with a guitar. It's mad, honestly.
Oh, that sounds
So,
very quirky.
yeah, it's one way to describe it for sure.
Cool. So I guess that's a good segue to the next question, which is what artists influence you?
Oh, bloody hell! Well, as well as Jeff, I really love my.
As if you're best mates with them, me and Jeff.
Yeah, me and Jeff. Yeah, when I was down the pub with Jeff, talking about me and our Jeff,
Yeah.
Exactly. I wish I were best mates. Well, obviously, I like a lot. Like everyone, I like all genres, but definitely your sort of your bluesy soul stuff from the sort of
Yeah.
is some music that really speaks to me. That I try and emulate that singing style and playing style best as I can. So, two main names that spring to mind: Aretha Franklin. I think she's one of all-time greats.
Yeah.
Absolute quality singer. And then there's Steve Winwood, who played with Eric Clapton when they first started a band called Blind Faith, I believe, and the Spencer Davis group. He played with them, and then he played a band called Traffic. And he's one of these who's probably written quite a lot of songs that people might not realise were written by him. So that song, Feeling Alright, which Joe Cocker made famous,
Okay.
that's one of his songs. Higher Love was one of his other solo songs as well. But he was one of the reasons I look up to him is because he was this back in the sort of late 60s, early 70s, he was this skinny white kid who would play like the organ and sing, and he just sounded like a Mississippi Delta bluesman. It was bad. He was this quite posh middle class upbringing, and we were like, how can this white kid?
How
sing
can he
like
sing
that?
the blues? Yeah.
Literally, yeah, and all the actual sort of legit bluesmen were thinking, how can he do that?
he's not been through the hard times to be
Yeah,
able to
he-
justify singing that way, that sort of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. I had a proper sort of middle class upbringing, but so
Yeah.
who knows? But yeah, they're two names I'd say big influences. If I had to choose.
Sweet, very cool, man. So here is another question. This
Ooh.
one's from Imi. It says, "How did you get into music, and do you get stage fright?" So there's two questions, and if so, how do you get it? How do you overcome it?
Oh, that's a good question. It's kind of funny. Like I think my mum and dad got me a really sort of cheap, basic guitar from like early learning centre, like kind of a toy guitar when I was, I think 9 or 10 for Christmas. Just because I think purely because I was such a weird kid that they didn't really know what else to get me. So I just thought, well, get him that. And if he, like, I wasn't really I didn't want into like superheroes or action figures. I wasn't particularly sporty. So I think I was just a bit of a hard kid to buy presents for. So I think they thought,
Yeah.
that's probably why it all started, because they bought me a guitar and I just sort of taught myself and went from there and learned little songs on my guitar, wrote sort of daft little songs and recorded them on a little tape cassette.
So were you playing the blues at that age, or were you influenced by the blues at that age, or did that come later?
Probably a bit later. I remember when I first started playing guitar, I really liked your sort of 80s hair metal bands like Metallica and Guns N' Roses.
Okay, yeah.
So that was and that was also because that's like a bit more technical and stuff. So that was sort of the music I'd listen to sort of learn how to try and teach myself to be a little bit better technically on my guitar and
Yeah, got you.
all that sort. So that was probably just got into music purely because I got a guitar for Christmas because mum and dad didn't know what else to get me. But I was sort of playing. My dad took me to open mics when I was about 14. He used to go there and play a couple songs and we'd drive back home sort of thing.
So
that was
did
when I
either of
first
your
started.
parents play? Did they play for the open mics, or were they
Nah.
primarily taking you just to play?
They're taking me just to play, but my dad's got he's got like an encyclopedic knowledge of music and taste in music. So he's one of these people who can tell you who was in what band at this time, and his sort of iTunes selection's enormous. So he's very knowledgeable about music, and he's got a great taste in music, which is good, because if it wasn't for that, maybe I wouldn't have got into good artists myself or stuff I like to listen to now. So they don't play as such, but kind of to answer a second question as well, I think I don't really suffer with stage fright very much at all these days, but I think it's because of like kind of baptism of fire. Like when my dad would take me to sort of pubs and dive bars and stuff when I was 14, and I'd have to get up and play in front of these sort of blokes who were in their 50s, 60s who had been playing for years. And that was quite nerve-wracking at the time, but I think because I kind of got it out of my system early. I think for bigger gigs, I do still there's an element of stage fright, especially because it's just me by myself with a guitar as well. I think I played a gig at a support slot at the Picture Drum in Holmfirth, like maybe 5 years ago, and it was pretty much full. I think it's 600 capacity, and there was about 500 people there. We'd sold 500 tickets, and that was quite scary, to be fair, when it's just you.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So the bigger gigs definitely get an element of stage fright, but I think just because of experience and having done it so often, it doesn't really.
So
phase me too much.
essentially, in a nutshell, what you're saying is kind of just practice, trial and error type thing, putting yourself out there. Because obviously, if your dad hadn't have put you in front of that what could have potentially been a tough crowd at the time, it might not have.
Yeah.
You might not be quite as thick-skinned as you are now, purely because of that story, like that. Not upbringing, but do you know what I mean? Like that time period in your life.
Definitely.
So it's kind of just daring to do it, and
I think just doing it, yeah. And the more you play, you'll know yourself from your time playing. Like you play rough, like I sort of done the circuit doing for covers gigs. So you're playing like working men's clubs and stuff. And when you get the tough crowds and you get the crowds that don't really engage, that's all just kind of like all just training, and it makes you a bit more thick-skinned. So it's all part of it, I suppose.
Absolutely. Yeah, man. So you mentioned about playing the Picture Drum solo. Do you prefer playing solo shows or full band shows?
Oh, so I've never done a show where it's sort of been me singing and playing guitar with a band behind me. So when I've played band shows, it's been with my former band, Red Star Bravado Cartel.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard.
So what was your role? Remind me in Red Star.
So I played I played the keyboards. So when you played of us, I think it was of a different keyboardist, a guy called Joe Leadbeater. Might have been probably just around the time just before I joined, because I've been there for 5 years.
Right, I see.
We're one of those bands that's changed members that many times. Since I've been with them, I've played everyone bar our lead vocalist. I've played with a different drummer, a different bass player. We've got like it's so funny. We've got a team of depths, and the list is that long. But we always joke that like we should have like a Facebook group just for all the.
You have like a fan page that's just all the people that are actually in the band.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, half of Huddersfield and Halifax have played with us at some point.
That's funny.
I don't know.
So
I think
it's hard to choose then, I guess.
It is. I think depends on the sort of crowd. Like it's a different time. I think it's playing it more kind of intimate gigs, especially where it's a gig where you get to do your solos, your original stuff, and people have kind of come to see you. I think I'd probably prefer playing by myself. But I think when you're talking to the audience between songs and you're engaging and you're sort of telling them stories about it, so it's kind of a more engaging, I guess, from both sides experience. But with the band, the four of my best mates, so we'd have a few beers before we got on stage. It was almost more of a social thing, and like because I'm not singing and fronting a band, I'm just sort of in the back playing keys. You can get lost in it a bit more, and just it's kind of over before you realise it's started, sort of thing. So it's very different. So I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm not sure I have an answer to that one, if I'm honest.
Are you planning on putting a band to this project, like a session band or anything? Or
there've been talks.
Alex is going to talk to me.
So my good friend Tom, who's sort of helped up with the setup. Well, I say helped. He's pretty much done the whole setup for us today. He's been my personal sound engineer today, and he plays
tech support.
It was pretty much tech support. I've got my own private tech support for him. He plays in a really successful band called the Box Tellies, who are a Huddersfield-based band who sort of making moves a little bit of a moment. And we've been sort of discussing a potential side project, like a little 3-piece blues band, potentially. Nice. It's an idea we've been throwing around.
Keep your eyes peeled for that then, I guess.
Oh yeah, we'll watch this space. We'll see. Not making any promises. But this was after we'd had a few beers, mine. So like.
Yeah, well, something to potentially look forward to then, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, mate. We've got a few more questions to get through, but I think if you're about ready to maybe play another tune, I'd love to hear another song from you. As I say, if anyone else has any further questions, please get them in the comments. If you could start it with a cue, then that way I can see the questions pretty quick. All right, man. I'll hand you over. Take it away.
Happy days. Lie down, get out your head, get off your feet. Drown out all the commotion in the street. Got a superstitious feeling that my luck is gonna soon run out. Don't forget all that you love. Don't lose your sight before your vision is complete. Don't burn down those fields around you. Don't let those dogs run wild before I fall asleep. Don't let those dogs run wild before I fall asleep. Don't let those dogs run wild before I fall asleep. Shout it just get out your mind. Fly free. Don't get tied down with sentimentality. Got a superstitious feeling that my luck is gonna soon run out. Don't forget all that you love. Don't lose your sight before the vision is complete. Don't burn down those fields around here. Don't let those thoughts run wild before I fall asleep. Don't let those thoughts run wild before I fall asleep. Got a superstitious feeling that my luck is gonna soon run out. Don't forget all that you love. Don't lose your sight before your vision is complete. Don't burn down those fields around you. Don't let those thoughts run wild before I fall asleep. Don't let those thoughts run wild before I fall asleep. Yeah. Don't let the thoughts run wild. Yeah. I said, let the thoughts run wild. Yeah. Don't let those thoughts run wild before I fall asleep.
Nice work, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
That sounds awesome.
Oh,
I
cheers.
love it. It's got such a good feel to it. It's like, I you know, you really see and hear that you're getting into it, and I just think the delivery of it's brilliant, man. So
Oh,
yeah,
cheers.
you should be really chuffed with yourself, man. That's really good.
Oh, much
And once
appreciated.
again, you're getting a lot of love in the comments as well. And
Oh, happy days.
yeah, man. Okay, so we have had a few more questions, but I wanted to just, before we move back onto the questions, you you mentioned, I can't remember, did we talk about this before we went live, or we were talking about how you put together a tour in the States? Have we talked about that yet?
Yeah, so that was with, actually, that last song I've just played was with Red Star Bravado Cartel. So that was a song I wrote with those guys called Don't Let the Dogs Run Wild.
Oh, cool.
And basically, we played a gig and we put at the parish in Huddersfield, we put a video of it up on YouTube. And we had a comment from a bloke in America saying, really like your stuff. Drop me a message. I'd like to talk about an opportunity here potentially. And to cut a long story short, because when I say a long story, it is a bloody long story, and we'll be here all day. So he was he had a music management company based out in Boston, and our singer we had a few Skype calls, and our singer went over to sort of chat to him, and he had a really impressive CV. He'd worked with Madness, he'd worked with Aerosmith, he'd worked with the Allman Brothers, he'd even he claimed that he was John Lennon's publicist back in sort of the late 70s, right before he died. And so Will, our frontman, went out to sort of meet him. We signed a contract with him. We paid a sort of signing fee for a year's contract, and he was going to sort us out some really good support slots at sort of big gigs in London, etc. And it turned out it was sadly, like he was who he says he was. This guy, he had all this stuff that people he claimed to work with, he had done, but he was basically a bit of an alcoholic, and he'd kind of fallen fallen out of favour with a lot of his big names and his connections in the industry. So we got to Boston, we met him, we realised he probably wasn't going to deliver on any of his promises. We all booked a week off work, and we booked a week's stay in Boston in the States. And we're like, right, Bruce, this guy's name's Bruce, obviously. We're going to be in Boston these days. If you could try and sort us any gigs while we're there, that would be brilliant. Because we had a little write up in the Huddersfield Examiner saying our local band go over to America, and we basically were in a position where we'd got to the States and he wasn't picking up his phone. We were sat there in a bar in Boston, like, fuck's sake, sorry. We're like,
It's all right. It's just be yourself, mate.
cracking. It's before Watershed still, but it'll be all right.
Yeah, I know my mum will be telling me off. She'll be like, "Don't stop encouraging people to swear."
Oh no,
Sorry.
my mum will be for swearing on it. But yeah, so we literally sat at a bar thinking, "Oh, what have we done? We've booked this tour and nothing's happened, and we've told everyone back home. And we thought, right, if we can at least get like a picture of us, all 5 of us playing as instruments at like a jam night somewhere, an open mic night somewhere, then we can at least say that it wasn't a complete failure." And just so happened, literally, it's like a scene from a film. There was a lass who overheard our conversation. She's like, "Well, I run an open mic night and it's on tonight." And we're like, "Oh, brilliant!" And she gave us the address, and we rocked up. And there was a bunch of other sort of singer-songwriters, bands playing, like you get an open mic night. And we got chatting to everyone because we stood out a bit because we're all 4 lads from Huddersfield.
Yeah.
And we got chatting and we explained the situation, like I've just told you, how we'd signed this contract to come over and play some gigs and it had fallen through. And we told them, and every sort of band and singer that were at the open mic night, they all came together and tried to sort us out a date for every night we were there. It was brilliant. So like,
That's insane.
I know. So we ended up playing every night that week. Every band, like if they had a gig booked, they said we could come and use their gear and play a support slot. We met our who ended up being our promoters. They were there that night and they sorted us out a gig at the Hard Rock Cafe in Boston, which is like quite a prestigious venue. Like Ed Sheeran's played there, Aerosmith have played there.
Yeah, man.
So that all kind of happened by chance. And then we came back 2 years consecutively after that, and obviously used these people, and they all sort of before they booked gigs in for us, but they've kind of become like our friends now as well. Like we go over and go out for a meal with them, have a few drinks and stuff. So it all kind of happened by chance, that America tour thing. It's such a weird story.
That is honestly like film worthy. You can make a bloody film out of that. That is insane.
There was an article written about us. It was a music blog in Boston. It ended up making it into the paper, I think, just literally telling the story of how we turned up. Like I said, turned up on our ones and ended up randomly playing.
I mean, first of all, why do people do horrible things like waste your time? But second of all, I bet you're so grateful that he did.
Oh, you hit
like,
the nail on the head. Exactly. I wouldn't have had it any other way.
Like if it hadn't have turned it out like that, you'd probably still had a write up in your local paper for like scandal in the States, and you'd been messed about and all that sort of stuff. But wow, that is just mental that it turned into such a positive story.
It really did. It was brilliant.
If you were to look up like the definition of the right place at the right time type thing, that'd be what comes up. Because like for you to build that many contacts and have that many people like help you out, and then continue to have those contacts at a later date and pave the way for the rest of your musical, like, because I'm assuming you still, well, that's how you got to the States with this solo project, correct?
Exactly, yeah. I just sort of called on the people. Like I say, we've become really close with them. Like every time now that we land in Boston, like we go around their house, have a few drinks, or go out for a meal, or we cook. We're all sort of really good friends. So I sort of called on them and used a lot of those contacts. And we're always making new contacts every time we go over as well. But called on a lot of them and just said, I'm sort of having a punt at this solo project, and is there any chance you could sort me out of a few gigs? So I've played a few gigs in various places in Boston. But as a solo artist myself, but yeah, it's worked out so well. Like it's been one of the best things that's happened in my life, really. Because like I say, they're all really good friends of ours as well.
Yeah. That's
so,
mental.
Yeah, the film rights are up for sale if anyone wants to make a feel-good movie about a band from me.
Yeah, that's crazy. Oh mate, that's wicked. I'm really chuffed for you. I'm glad. I feel like I've watched the end of the film and it's all worked out in the end.
You're watching the credits now.
Yeah, it's well good. So, okay, let's I think that, I suppose that kind of paves the way for this next question,
Alright.
which was, oh, where is it? I can't find the question. I will find it, but I can remember it off the top roughly what it said. I think it was
Okay.
something. Oh no, I don't want to get it wrong. I will find it. Just bear with me a sec.
No worries. Al.
So, what is the biggest? I'm assuming that this is probably the answer to the question, but I figured you might have another
Yeah.
story. What is the biggest problem you've had to overcome so far musically, in industry wise?
I think you probably that. Nothing really comes close to being in a foreign country with everyone back home thinking you're on tour and you're sat in a bar sobbing into your pint thinking, this is
Yeah, I suppose that's up there. I just figured it'd be nice to, at least give him the credit for the question.
no, it was really I inadvertently answered it before.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Answered it before it. In terms of industry wise, it's very. I think that's sort of in terms of an actual event that's happened. That one was, I suppose, a bit of a setback. But it's in terms of like more general, maybe I'd say it's quite hard. The sort of music I listen to and I like the sort of stuff I write. I think this might sound a bit weird. I hear it as being a bit more kind of like American. It's got more of a country bluesy, and being from the UK, obviously, I sometimes find maybe there's not quite a slot for that as much over here, and it's sort of I don't quite fit into a lot of the categories, so it's quite hard to like sort of promote yourself a little.
Yeah, man. I understand. Yeah, it's hard to sort of get, obviously, when you, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, just do what you want to do, and then people will follow it. It's finding your market, isn't it? You can't expect everybody to like absolutely everything.
No.
But at the same time, like, you can understand like the bluesy country more vibe. It's gonna scream way more volumes over in the States, just because that's that mentality, their culture. That's so you can understand why you do better, if anything, over there, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think now there's becoming a bit more of a definitely country. Like I did a sort of gig just before lockdown with two really good female singer-songwriters, and it was strictly like country, and there's a massive scene for that now, like UK country live. There's loads of radio stations. That's becoming a bit more of a thing here, but I think you're absolutely right. You've got to just keep doing. I think maybe where a lot of bands, it's quite hard, where they fall short is it's trying to predict what the next thing is going to be, and kind of modelling your sound on that. Trying to get is never really going to work out, I think, because you just got to keep doing what you do, and eventually it will come around, but that will be popular again, or there'll be a gap in the market, or no one's heard anything quite like that at that time.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of because you're kind of forever chasing your tail otherwise. Because by the time
That's it,
you see what's current and what's working, and you're like, okay, I'm going to sound like that now. And then by the time you've learnt that craft and you've actually got it to where you want it to be, the next wave of whatever it is out, and you're like, great, I've just spent the last 5 years learning how to sound like Nirvana, and now everyone wants to sound like Post Malone. It's
pretty much.
It's that you just got to stay true to yourself and just play what feels good to you, and then hopefully people will follow.
Exactly.
But sorry, you were going to say?
No, just agreeing with you there completely. That's the advice I'd give to anyone else who's starting out with music. Just keep doing what you do.
Absolutely, man. All right, so we've had a question here saying, what was it that made you want to go ahead and do music full time? You're sounding great, by the way, and have obviously studied classical too. I think that's kind of less of a statement and more of a question, but you've kind of got a full stop. Have you got classical in there?
So I studied music theory.
Or classically.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I wouldn't say I'm able to whip out some Beethoven or Mozart.
Yeah.
On acoustic. But no, so I know my music theory bit comes from I studied like jazz, and I played in a jazz band when I was younger, like in school and that. And I think that's a really good genre to like, your music theory, it's really like that teaches you music theory. It's like a baptism of fire. Yeah. And So I guess that whoever that person is got a very good ear that have picked up on
It's
that.
Michael Cope. He's yeah, he has got a very good ear. He watches the show all the time, and
Does
he's
it?
always got something really wise to say about whoever's on, which is really cool because it means that he's
Oh,
listening.
yeah.
Not that anyone
Well,
else.
cheers,
not-
Michael, for that. Yeah, so I did a bit of jazz, so that's where my theory knowledge comes from. And Michael's probably going to be really annoyed at this if he knows his music, but I was kind of born with perfect pitch, so I can hear. But when I tell people that, they instantly don't like me because it's like it's like a
I'm
cheat code to over.
I'm pretty sure my brother's got that as well. It's really annoying. Like he just pitch everything absolutely perfectly and hear it, and it's just very frustrating. If that's
It's,
what
I wouldn't say like me singing pitch or playing his pitch is perfect, but I can hear a tune on my radio and like right, I know how. Which is, but yeah, that kind of answers a little bit Michael's other question, half of his question, because I did doing music full time. Obviously, you've kind of got to make enough money to get paid enough to live off it. So I do a lot of like covers gigs, like pubs and weddings and stuff, and like depping for function bands here and there. And because I've able to like pick up tunes, so if I might get a message from someone in a wedding band saying our guitarist's broken his hand or something, can you learn this 20-song set list by Saturday? And that's when like having the little back pocket gift of being able to pick up the tunes comes in handy.
That's crazy. Man.
But it is proper nerve wracking. Like, so I taking the punt to just do it full time. I don't know if that's were you doing that sort of before the lockdown or?
I have been self-employed in the industry, music industry, for nearly 10 years now.
Wow. So I'm sure you can. What?
Yeah,
So
mate,
I'll
honestly,
flip it on.
Like I was forced to do it. I was made redundant when I was 21. I say forced. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. Then, like obviously, I was a printer by trade, and I'd left school, went in straight into printing, and basically the first year I was there, I was like telling my boss, I was like, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to be a rock star. I don't even need to be here in a year's time. And then 5 years later, I'm still there. And then he was like, sorry, Matt, here's your P45. We're having to make cuts. I'm like, I told you I'd be out of here. And he's like, yeah, but on our terms.
Except he was the one that.
Yeah.
He just
so
really
then
wanted
that
you to be a rock star.
Yeah, exactly. I genuinely think they saw that, because I still speak to all the lads at work and my old boss and stuff. I feel like to a certain degree they knew that my heart wasn't in printing, and they knew that, like, you know, I was just there to make ends meet, sort of thing. My wife just made me laugh. It's another story. I'll tell you later. Thanks a lot, Amy. You've just thrown me off track. What was I saying?
You're on about the self-employed life as a musician.
Oh,
Before
yeah.
Amy threw you off track.
I've genuinely forgotten what I'm on about.
Oh, no.
Bloody hell.
We're on about.
I
Yeah,
was
you've been doing it 10 years. That's it.
Oh yeah,
And you used to be a
so
printer
yeah,
and-
so I used to be a printer, and then I ended up basically when I was made redundant, I just thought, why not take the leap and just go for it? And 10 years later, I'm here doing it, and it's not been all roses. Do you know what I mean? It's highs and lows. But for anyone that's wanting to pursue music that has any passion and desire, and like genuinely believes that they want to do it and can do it, they have to just know in the heart that at some point they have to take the leap, and then also accept whatever way it may go. It may go, actually, that wasn't the lifestyle for me. I need to go back to something a bit more substantial and bring in income, because yes, I've done this for 10 years, but when money's tight, I still go work and I still help.
Yeah.
Like I do a bit of labouring and stuff here and there. I'm not trying to pull the wool over anyone's eyes and say that it's like 10 years of plain sailing. You have to graft, you have to work your ass off. Anyway, you're very early stage of your career, man, and in daring to leap to do it. And I wish you all the luck, man. I believe that you've got the talent and you'll succeed in it. But I think it's also, you need to understand the level of success is what draw your line and whatever that may be. Because for me, all it was is just to be able to have a sustainable income and live.
Yeah.
It's not about making millions. I mean, although now I'm
not.
like, I'm only joking. I'm not really.
Yeah.
Imagine that. But it's
Actually, fit one of your 5 studios you're in now, right?
10.
Oh,
10
right,
of 'em.
sorry.
Anyways, mate, I'm gonna. I'm kidding, by the way.
For anyone at home thinking.
He's 15.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I think let's get your final song, and then we'll rattle through a few more questions. But we're probably going to run a little over tonight. Although we can't run over tonight. I'm sorry, mate. We can't run over. Let's do a song, and then
Do a song.
we'll see how we're getting on. All right. Are you
Cool.
are you doing a cover now or another original? What's your
I'm going
plans?
to do a cover for you, if that's all right. And it's quite
Sweet,
a short
yeah.
song, which is good because we're nearly at the end. It's a cover of, that's not why I picked it. It's a Jeff Buckley tune called "I Want Someone Badly."
Sweet. Take it away.
So, thank you very much. Now I want someone badly. Got a girl here tonight who wants someone new, someone new. And they cry all over madly. Wanna know if this is a bad lease on me. I wanna know, am I sure that I heard you right? I wanna know if you're leaving, just make sure it's right. Now I want someone madly. Burn with me. So to cry all over bed now. So don't do anything, do it with me, baby girl. I wanna know, am I sure that I have your love? I wanna know if you're leaving, just do it tonight. Now I want someone badly. Could it be true? And that someone is you. Mhm.
That was mega, mate. Love that.
Oh, thank you very
So
much.
much feel.
All the
Wicked.
feels.
All the feels. Mate, I've thoroughly enjoyed hanging out tonight and hearing you
Me
play
too,
music and having a talk and chat and stuff. And mate, that story that you told as well is unreal. You need to get that sent to Hollywood right away.
I'll have Leo DiCaprio play me, I reckon. If,
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that could work.
if he's not too busy.
No, I'm sure. I'll make a quick call and see if I can arrange it for
You
you.
just use your connections, Matt, if you could. That'd be great.
I will. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. No,
okay.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it, man.
No, thank
Been
you very
great
much. We have had a couple more questions. If you want to sort of maybe do a quick-ish fire round.
Yeah, brilliant.
What artist or artists, living or dead, would you most like to meet and why?
Probably Prince. Want him to show me how he does all the crazy stuff he does on guitar. I'd meet him and then just blackmail him into giving me a guitar lesson, basically.
Yeah. Brilliant. And then send him on his way and then steal all his ideas. Brilliant.
Yeah, literally. I wouldn't tell him that I love his work or have a chat. Like, oh, cheers.
Yeah, cheers, man. Thank you. Okay. There was another one here. Sorry, man.
No, I got no worries.
What's your writing method? Do you write the lyrics first or the chords?
Generally like chords, but what I actually most of the time do is write like the melody, like the tune. Kind of, so
Cool.
I'll have a sort of a tune and I'll just hum it like, "Na, na, na," and then
Mhm.
chords around that tune, and then the third bit of the puzzle is writing lyrics normally.
Cool.
So
And then
that's-
what about your lyrical content then? Where do you sort of take inspiration from that?
so someone really quickly, like, 'cause I know a short time, like someone once said that it's meant to be 80-20, like music and lyrics. So like 80% of a song has to be the music and 20. But I kind of disagree with that because so many good songs, even like really good musicians as well, they kind of the lyrics are just all right. Do you know what I mean? They rhyme and they fit and they sound
Yeah.
okay, but they don't really mean much. So like,
Yeah.
I try and Bob Dylan's one of my favorite singer songwriters, and he's obviously like a lyrical genius. So
Yeah.
I listened to a lot of him growing up. So try. It depends on the mood of the song. Some songs are about the words, and some songs are just sort of more like repetitive about the tune. But I try and
Yeah.
put a bit of thought into my lyrics. It's probably why they're all 3/4 done because it's the lyrics bit where
Yeah.
I
I mean, I think that's the hurdle that everyone struggles to get over the most.
yeah,
Um,
I'd say so.
I definitely can relate. Mate, honestly, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for a really enjoyable evening. Like I say, you've had a lot of love in the comments, and if you haven't yet, please go to Jack's socials and drop him a follow or a like and show him some love and support. You're on Spotify and all the hundreds of other musical platforms there are. So yeah, once again, just go show Jack some love and yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for joining me. Have you got any
Oh, thank you so
final
much.
words or anything you want to sign off with?
I wish I'd thought of something cool to sign off with, but no, I don't. Just thanks again for having. Honestly, it's been really, really nice chatting with you. Hope our paths cross again when we're all allowed out and that.
Definitely, I'm sure it will, man. I'll drop you a message and we'll sort out another one of these, mate. I'd love to have you back on and hear more music from you.
Oh,
It's
cheers,
been
dude.
really enjoyable. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So thank you very much, Jack. You take care of yourself, all right?
You too, Matt. All the best, mate.
See you later, dude. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Once again, I really appreciate the continued support. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you're new here. If you've already subscribed, thank you very much. Make sure you go support Jack and all of the other artists from all of the other shows that I've done. Also, just before we do sign off, it's Wednesday and Gary Linley is doing his Beatles stream as well on his channel. Please go support him. If you want to go listen to more live music, he's doing a 30-minute Beatles acoustically speaking set, and it'll be live now. So maybe tune in now. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows? Anyways, once again, thank you so much. I'll see you all tomorrow. Good night.